All right, guys, welcome to the Forge to Win podcast. I am super excited about the guests that we have on today. We have Joe Howard III. We just had a fantastic conversation, and really one key thing that I took that I think you should is relationships are key, right? The way you go about relationships are key. Joe is such a genuine guy, and he has some really good advice on building relationships, how to find mentors, how to keep mentors, and really how to build loyalty as you're building your real estate business. So today on Forge to Win, we have Joseph Howard III. And if you find value from this, subscribe or share it with a friend. It is a free podcast, and we would love to invite you and welcome you to Forged to Win. My guest today is Joe Howard III. He is an entrepreneur. He's a real estate investor. He owns Junk Nights and Three Visions Home Solutions, right? It's Three Visions Home Solutions?
Correct.
And he's been in the real estate game for a while, guys. I'm super excited to have Joe on because he's not only did he get started in real estate, he is constantly doing this, and he's got kind of a vision for going forward, even to his company name, right? Three Visions Home Solutions. He's in this to help people, and I think his story is going to be really good for the audience. So, Joe Howard III, welcome to Forge to Win podcast, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing grand. First and foremost, thanks a lot for having me on the show, Ronald. I really appreciate it. And also just very, very thankful, very humble, and excited to be here because I'd like to share some of my wins, my struggles, and a little bit of inspiration if I can for somebody out there listening or tuning in.
Absolutely, man. Well, one of the things just in our brief interaction that I really appreciate is you're such a humble guy and you really want everyone to win, right? Like you want to make it easy for me even when we're talking, and you're just very concerned of like, hey, I want to share my story. I want to help people. I think in our pre-call to the show, you mentioned like, man, I just believe in us coming together, right? That if the more of us come together, that we can win and we can do more together than we can in competition. And dude, I just think that's super admirable. Not a lot of people have that, and I love that. So to get started, to jump in, what is your business like right now? Like, what does business look like for Joe, for your real estate company, for your junk company? What does that landscape look like?
Well, we dab in a couple of different things. So one of them being residential house rehabbing, aka flips. Also, I am a co-owner of a glamp site up north that's in a pilot phase. So we're working really heavily on that, getting active feedback from that. And so we have about a handful of flips.
So unpack that for me. What is a?
Yeah.
Tell me about the glamp site, because that sounds exciting.
Yeah, for sure. So the glamp site is a half a block away from an all-sports lake on Idlewild Lake near Baldwin, Michigan. And it'll be offered several amenities like fires. You'll be able to rent kayaks on the all sports lake because we have a lake house on that lake as well. And it's really for any type of crowd, for bachelor parties, bachelorette, family gatherings, fishermen, hunters, snowmobilers, quads, because there's trails all around. So we've been in a pilot stage for about a year. We're going to go a year and a half, close to 2 before we launch. But the big thing about it is being able to have all the amenities for everybody that want to come in and relax, enjoy the woods, but then when you're staying, you're going to be in a nice RV or a nice camper where you'll be able to use the restroom, to watch some TV, Wi-Fi, the best of both worlds. That's why we call it the glamping.
Yeah, no. Well, and to be an investor in that's like really exciting because you're providing this experience,
Exactly.
right, to the people rather than just housing, right? It's kind of it's a little bit more exciting. It's like, oh, let's do some fun stuff. So you got the glamping, you've got the real estate company, and the junk nights, right?
Yeah, so if you guys see this here, Junk Nights, this is our business. The slogan is "We slay your junk," so people really
Nice.
like that. But yeah, Junk Nights has been around. We just celebrated our 3rd year anniversary in business, so we're toddler stage, but we're talking, we're saying a couple words from a baby perspective. But we love it because they all under one roof for the real estate company, for Three Visions Home Solutions and Three Visions Investments and others. But then also Junk Nights because we offer several different solutions to different
Yeah.
clientele. So number one, it would be we'll buy your house as is. Number two, home renovations. And number three, junk removal / demolition. Now that's leading with Three Visions. If someone's seen me with this apparel on or this swag, oh, what's Junk Nights? Well, Junk Nights is a full service junk removal company. We offer demolitions, which is tied into the Three Visions, and also yard debris removal. So what we did with the Three Visions is we did a spinoff of our logo to be able to say, hey, if you're not willing to sell your property, maybe you need some renovations done, and we can offer that for you as well. If you don't
Okay.
need renovations or don't want to sell, well, then maybe you need junk removal and demolition because everybody has junk, right?
And you went that direction because
It was just like right there in the smack of the face. So when I got into real estate, I was wholesaling, just wholesaling, and
yep.
it was a partner of mine at the time. He was like, "Hey man, we should do some junk removal because this is a good niche. Everyone we're selling these properties to are the houses are like just full of crap and unwanted items." And I was like, "Okay." We did it, made some nice coin on our first couple of jobs, and decided to invest into it. And when it took off, it was just like, wow, these two go hand in hand. Like you can do junk removal and get an off market lead, or you get an off market lead and you can do junk removal. So those were the two we were doing. Well, I
Yeah.
was doing for the last several years, and then that third one, the tertiary option was the renovations. Well, we were doing renovations on our own projects, but not really offering them to the public.
Right.
Well, sometimes we all experience seasonality or in the middle of acquiring another project to flip, right, Ronald? You know what I mean? We're like,
Yep.
hey, we got to keep our guys busy because they do great work. I don't want them walking off to Joe's site.
Right.
He
Right.
has
Right.
like 20 going on. So it just fell in our lap, and I met a great guy to be able to partner with on the renovations, Nate Straycheck. And he's when we first met, I didn't know we were family, but he is actually family. He's a third cousin, and it just worked out. Like, wow, this is literally godsend right here. So,
Dude, so he's actually related to you, is what you're saying.
yeah, yep, he's my
Dude,
cousin.
that's amazing. That's
Yeah,
actually crazy to come in and run into him and then he becomes business partners. So you started off wholesaling,
correct,
and while you're wholesaling, you got into the junk removal, and you realize they kind of go hand in hand, right?
correct.
And then I'm assuming while you're wholesaling, you started picking up properties yourself. You're like,
Oh yeah,
man,
for
okay,
sure.
I want to get into rehabs and keeping those guys busy. Now that's like, let's be real, that's three businesses, right? That's
Three visions,
wholesaling.
baby.
That's rehabbing and that's junk removal. So what like that's taking on like what keeps you pushing at such a high level, right? Like what keeps you motivated and pushing with that vision? Is it the clarity that you have of being able to help people? Is it this internal drive and this goal that you're looking to? Like what is it that drives you deep down internally?
A couple of factors. First and foremost, I would say my faith. We were raised in a very strong home based family.
Nice.
So shout out to my mom. Hi mom. Hi dad. Love you guys. So always having my faith to be able to like believe in myself, my family, because we have a huge family. My grandma on my mom's side had 18 kids. So somebody's probably my family. I mean, hence the reason why I
Yeah.
met Nate and then found out
Yeah.
he's my cousin. Like,
Yeah.
okay, it makes sense now. And with my family, specifically more with my mom and my wife Brittany, they have been like huge knowledge blocks for me, and my prayer warriors, my grandmother. So then also knowing my history, like where I come from. I'm from a small town, Idlewild, Michigan, where the Glamp site is. So
Okay.
being from Idlewild and Lake County is coined as the poorest county in Michigan, and not a lot of resources, blah blah blah. But me, that kind of just irritated me growing up, because if you know your history, you know that they say you're bound to repeat it if you don't know your history. Well, I kind of want to repeat a little bit of it just because of, I mean, everyone who was someone doing Jim Crow laws where we couldn't have equal opportunity
Yeah.
amongst colors. I mean, it happened. It's our history, right? I have
Yeah.
no ill
Yeah.
will towards anyone, but all entertainers, investors, doctors, and athletes came to Idlewild, Michigan as a resort to invest and to relax, like Muhammad Ali, Jackie Knight and the Pips, the Jackson Five, Al
Nice.
Green, Marvin Gaye, what's his name? Stevie Wonder. All these people came to Idlewild. So I grew up hearing all of these
Wow.
things, and I'm
Okay.
just the lake that I grew up on in my first deal ever in real estate was next door to this lake. So I got a lake house on land contract for $5,000 down. And I'm like, wow, I'm a landlord on this prominent Idlewild lake where all these people used to come up to. So I just kept talking to myself about, if they could do it, why can't I? And, beat these odds. And I don't want to be a statistic. I don't want to be on welfare. I don't want to struggle. And there's struggles, don't get me wrong, when you have your own business and you're managing crews, but it's a little different when you believe in yourself. You move a little different.
Yeah. Well, and so to me, what I hear from that is who you are and kind of representing not just your family, but your history is extremely important. I have a thing that I tell my guys that we want to be proud of the products we produce. We want to be proud of the work that we do individually. And we
Oh,
want to
yeah.
be proud of our last name, our family, right? Like we want to be proud that like, yo, this is like you told me before, like this is Joe Howard the third, right? Like, hey, I'm representing my family line. And it sounds like that goes even beyond just your family, but just your history, your culture. I didn't know that about Idaho. Like that's super cool.
Oh, yeah.
And now because that's so important, you're literally investing in a retreat scenario with the glamping there to attract, to bring it back, to make it known, to take it from this poor community up. So, dude, I love that. I absolutely think when you believe in yourself, like what you're saying is, you don't take things so personally, right? Because I think that's where it comes down. When you don't, it's like you take everything personally, right?
Oh, yeah.
When like struggling, you're like, I don't know if I can do this, and everything. If something fails, it's so personal, and I think that's something that just the audience can go is one, guys, find out like what do you want to be, right? Like especially going into this journey. I'm excited to jump into how you got started, but I think jumping in is just learning. Okay, what do I want to do, and how do I want to make my money, and how am I going to put my stamp on it? And it sounds like you've gotten really, really clear about that, and so it provides that constant motivation. So take me back, bro. So take me back before wholesaling. Like, was this something you had to figure out? Was wholesaling something you stumbled on? Like, how did you get into the real estate industry? What did that look like?
This goes back to high school. This goes back to, I mean, back to my mom giving me a vision and hearing these things. But so high school, where it really, really just went from like hearing these things growing up to actually putting it to fruition or a test. So I had bought a car. I was 16, 16 and a half. I would play sports, play football, basketball, track. So not really a lot of time to work during the seasons because you had to practice and go to the games and rest and
Yep.
relax. So I had a 1980 Color Supreme. I get it, and I'm like, man, I love this car. I went half in on $1,600. I raised 800. My mom over the summer, my mom and dad gave me 800, and I'm
Nice.
like, now I got to pay for gas, but I got to go play sports. How am I gonna do that legally? And so my mom was like, you could sell candy out of your locker, or at school. And I was like, hey, that's not a bad idea. So we went to the local dollar store, Family Dollar at the time, and I got like $50 worth of little 25-cent candy, and I
Yep.
sold them. It was like an 8 pack we got for like $1, and I sold them 25 cents a piece, and
Okay.
it was working. It worked so well that I had like clientele where I knew I had to save so many Reese's or Kit Kats after the first couple hours because I knew I had a lunch hour rush, and then I also had a rush at the end of the day right before practice would start. Like, hey man, let me get a couple pieces of candy. All right, cool. So when my principal at the time, Miss Faith Thomas Jones, hi Miss Jones, um, she called me into her office and she was like, "Hey, you got to stop selling candy." I was like, "Why?" The a la carte complained to her and said that their sales were going down
No.
for like the Bosco sticks and other little stuff. So I'm like, I'm just paying for my gas and I'm playing sports. She was like, I understand that. They used to call me Joey in high school. I understand that, Joey, but you gotta stop. And I'm like, wow, I'm really doing numbers like that. So fast forward, I always had that drive to leverage myself in regards to seeing a need and filling that void. So I
Yeah.
did a couple other like marketing things or multi-level things with um, a legal service. I did one with like life insurance. I almost did one with makeup to like sell to help with other ladies in my family to
Yeah.
promote that. But then, so I graduated throughout all this time from Grand Valley State, and I get this job where I'm working overnight and it's part time and no benefits. But I was like, I got to get out of the factory and the serving industry where I was and utilize my degree in legal studies. And so I started working at this nonprofit. I'm studying up. I don't know if I want to go to law school. And I stumble upon real estate. And it just hits me. It was this guy, Phil. Can't remember his last name, but he was talking about wholesaling and how to be able to leverage yourself and creative real estate versus traditional real estate. And I was just like, wow. I mean, I'm working overnight. I'm getting paid to just sit here and make sure all the kids are still asleep, nobody's sneaking out, and stay
Yeah.
up.
Sorry to interrupt you. Just to kind of focus. So how did you run into him? Was he a person you met? Was it like a seminar you went to, or was it
No,
like
no. So
online, or
how,
what
when
was
I
that look like?
when I ran into the link, I was just scrolling online and something. I think on my Facebook because I already had that one rental,
Okay.
but that was it. That's all I had, and I didn't know how to get past that.
Okay.
And it was on land contract. Well, I was just looking at an ad popped up on Facebook about wholesaling, and I clicked on it. And then when I clicked on it, went to YouTube to all his other videos that he had, and he was giving content for free, adding value to other people, and I was just like, wow. I just started watching the videos, and it just came from there. More confidence,
So
more
so
faith.
you started wholesaling. I think this is key. I think this is
Okay.
really really big because you saw something, it piqued your interest, and then you watched, and this guy was showing, basically walking you through how to do it. So did you immediately be like, yo, I can make money doing this? Like, so, or were you like, I don't know, is this a scam? Can I really do this? Or did you go to a seminar? Like, what? So you started learning, and you're like, man, okay, I can really make money. I can was it I can build my rental portfolio? Was it I could get out of my job? Like, what was that motivation from there?
My motivation was definitely make more money. I mean, I was a college graduate, and I was making like maybe $15 an hour. Um, so I just wanted to make more money. I wanted to focus on wholesale and learn that process. And then after learning the process, I wanted to build up more my portfolio for rentals. Um, so then it didn't happen right away. I want to say it took about another 6 months. I was watching, had the analysis paralysis thing going on where I was just
Yep.
like, oh, I'm watching, I'm talking, I'm watching. And then it helped me for everyone who's local, or if you're not local in West Michigan, but join something in your local area. Well, I started talking to some people, and I found out about RPOA, Rental Property Owners Association. and I went to a breakfast. Actually, a good friend of mine went to the breakfast with me, and he was just like, "Dude, this is where you want to be. You one landlord to 100 units. I mean, yeah, one unit to 100 units. You're a landlord. You want to start plugging in with these guys and people and ladies." So I went nervous as hell, man, and like I think I had to go in the bathroom and like wipe the sweat off my face and then go back in. I was that nervous, and which is ironic because I did the sports and everything, and I was in drama in high school, so you would think I would love that, but it was just
Yeah.
new to me. And I met a guy, Dennis Childress, bless his heart, very, very seasoned guy, experienced investor. And Dennis just took me underneath his wing. First mentor I've ever had here in West Michigan, and I still talk to him like every other week. And he just told me like, "Hey Joe, be you, and keep coming back. Keep coming back. It's all about the relationships." And I believed him, and it worked. I just got to talking and doing my thing, and I got comfortable. I wasn't sweating anymore. People like, "Hey Joe, how's it going? Come sit over here. What you got going on?" And I'm like, "Wow, this is real."
Yeah, they invited you into the circuit. So when I got started, Joe, it was very similar. Now the difference was, so I was working at Chase, J.P. Morgan Chase, and I was
Okay.
managing investment funds. And I'm not going to say the guy's name, but one of my clients, he was my third top client, made a $3 million deposit. Okay.
Well,
And I'm working at Chase, right? I'm nowhere near that. So I call him up, and he just so happens to answer the call literally almost every time I call, right? Super nice guy, a little bit older. And I was like, yo, like, what do you do? Like, how, like, I don't understand. Like, can you explain to me how you just made a $3 million deposit? And he's like, well, I actually just flipped this apartment complex. And he walked me through how he did this apartment complex flip. I was like, okay, well, what should I get started? He's like, join this group called Lifestyles Unlimited. And I was like, okay, it's a place in Dallas, Texas, which is where I lived before here. And so me and him went out to lunch. We talked. He pointed me in that direction. I went there. Well, when I was at Lifestyles, the guy mentioned wholesaling, right? He mentioned, yo, you can just flip paper and make 18,000 bucks. He actually shared the story on how he made $18,000 in 3 properties in 5 hours. And I was like, what? You just made 18 grand in 5 hours? Like, what are you
yeah, that's
talking
legit.
about? Right? Like, what?
That's legit.
So I emailed him and I was like, yo, I need to learn more. He's like, hey, we don't teach wholesaling here. He actually responded to me. We don't teach wholesaling here, but check this out. And he sent me a free book by Sean Terry. And I'm sure you're familiar with Sean Terry.
Yeah.
And I read Sean Terry's book, and that came up, and it was December 24th. It was the day before Christmas. I was watching a webinar from Sean Terry about joining his course and learning. And I was sitting there struggling, man. I was like, I don't know if this is a scam. I don't know anybody who's done this. I've just listened to a few things. I know this guy made a whole bunch of money. And at the time, Sean Terry's course was $2,000. And dude, that was like a ton of money to me at that time, especially to
I know, right?
outfit, like, right, do all that. And dude, I bought the course. Like, it was like 11 o'clock at night, Christmas Eve. My baby had gone to bed. Me and my wife were talking, and I didn't know if it was something I wanted to do. Like, I just knew I wanted to make more money, right? Like,
Exactly.
I said, and I think from what you shared, like, that's like that fear that we feel of, man, I don't know if this is for me. I don't know what it looks like. The community, should I just go? Like, that fear is normal, right? And I feel like almost everybody I talked to had that at some point before they jumped in. I love that in your story, you just went and you sat down with them, and then you became friends with them. And my guess from what you're saying is, you're like, hey, how can I help? Like, this is what I got going on. This is what I want. How can I help you guys? This is what I'm looking for. And you just shared what you wanted. And along the way, things kind of fell into place. So, how long between from when you joined that group and you started learning and watching the YouTube videos and your first wholesale deal?
Um, well, watching the videos to that, I want to say probably 6 to 8 months. Um,
Okay.
because I was still managing the rental and doing that, and then I actually going to the meetings. I was like, yeah, I'm an owner. I'm an owner. Well, then I started looking for more properties, and I ran into a guy who actually had a great system. He was a part of another bigger mastermind in real estate. He paid like 25 grand for it, and I was like, "Whoa, bro, that's you paid 25 grand? Might have been 40."
Right.
I was like, "Whoa!" So he had a great system, and I've always loved talking to people, building relationships. So we partnered up, and we did that. He had it under contract for almost. His contract was about to expire actually on the assignment side, and I
Okay.
found a buyer who's now a mentor of mine as well, Renee, and he was like, "Yeah, we'll pick it up. Has some foundation issues, and we sold it for 5,000. We made 5,000 off of it. So it was 40-40-20 split. So I made 2 grand my first wholesale, and I was elated. Like I was ecstatic. I was like, Mom, I just did this. Britt, I just did this. Like, can you believe how long this would take me working overnight? After taxes to make this 2 grand net, not gross. And so it took a while for people around me to see that it was actually a real thing. Because, right, like you said, when you're trying to
Yeah.
explain wholesaling to someone, it's like saying, hey, get married or elope, or when you're married, don't wear a ring or something. They'd be like, what? Like, yeah, this is real. People operate differently than the
Yep.
masses, and that's okay.
Yeah. Well, and that first check is such a bolstering to your belief because you're kind of operating in faith, right? You're
Oh yeah,
operating in faith. People are telling you different. You might not be from this industry. You don't know what it looks like. You don't know if it's real. And then, dude, my first property was 2933 Tulane Avenue in Dallas, Texas. And when I got that check in the mail from the title company, because I didn't get it wired, I got a check in the mail with my name on it. I wish I would have taken a picture of the check, bro. I regret not taking a picture of the check, so I had it. But it was $3,000, and at that point, I'd spent about 5 grand. So I was deep from marketing, and dude, I got that $3,000, and it was like gangbusters, bro. It was over. I
oh
done
yeah,
proved it. It worked. I didn't get scammed. No one stole anything from me. Like
yep.
it was done, right? Like I was all in from that point. And guys, this is the power of like proving something. From that point, no joke. My lunch breaks, I was meeting with sellers for lunch. I was asking if they could meet me for lunch. I'd get out of work, I'd either be driving for dollars, setting bandit signs, or going on seller appointments, right? Literally from the time I'd get done with work till 10 p.m., I would be doing something. And I did that for 7 months,
Yeah, I was
right?
a
I did
bandit sign
so,
king.
yeah, bro, bandit
Just getting
signs.
it done, man. And at the time it was picking up. So I loved it. Like I loved the hustle part. He had the organization part, and then when it came in, we would walk them together. I would talk to the clients, potential
Yep.
clients, get them locked up, and just be really personable with them. Was, hey man, how do you feel about 65? It's not even the money side of it, guys. It's more about solving a problem. Once
Yeah.
you find out what the problem is to solve, the money doesn't matter. Like they're just like, you know what? You've helped me, and in return, I can see that you're going to do something great with this property, and it needs X amount of dollars of work that I can't do. Yes, I want to work with you.
Yeah. Well, and it's relationship, right? I think
Yeah,
that's the underlying tone of what you're saying is it's about helping people, but it's about we want to be around people who we know, we like, and we trust,
trust. Yep.
right? If we know them, if we like them, and we trust them, we're trying to figure out a way to make it work. You know
Oh
what I'm
yeah.
saying? Like if your buddy or Renee, like you mentioned, if he called you and said, "Yo, this is what I'm thinking," your first thought is, "Okay, how can I help?" Right?
Exactly.
What can we do? What do you need? What's this?
Yeah.
Where if some random Joe calls you on the street, you don't know him. He's like, "Yo, I want you to buy this from me." You're like, "What? What? Hold on." Right? And you don't trust him. It's like there's an immediate wall. It's like, dude, the lens here, it's like trying to get married before you even dated somebody, right? Like you're jumping ahead. And
That's so
so
true.
I
That's
really
so
like
true.
that. I really like that, man. So we talked about how you got started, jumping in,
Yeah.
partnering, offering this value, creating a relationship. Um, you've been in real estate for a while. I've been in real estate for a while.
Yep.
As much as I would love to say, you're going to jump into real estate and it's going to be all sunshine and rainbows and you're going to be rich in 2 months and everything's going to go your way, that's just not the reality, right?
No.
You can make some really good money. It is life changing. I will say my first deal changed my life. Having an extra $3,000, like, it was amazing, right? And then my next deal on top of that was a huge step for it. I think my next deal is either 11 or 7,000. My next two deals was
Nice.
11 and 7. And so, like, right away, it can change your life, but
Oh yeah.
it's a learning process. So what are some things that you would say was a really bad decision that Joe made along the way, and like how did that impact your journey, and how did you solve that and get out of that, or something that someone could learn from that?
Well, that's a really easy one, man. Definitely not staying humble after having a decent amount of success or a decent amount of coin hit your account. Very similar, like how you say your next two deals were 11 and 7. That's 18 grand, right? Like when we first got started, that was roughly like almost my salary for the year working part time.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
however you guys believe in God, Allah, or the universe, whatever, they all play a very similar role of correcting our thought process and our actions when we feel full of ourselves. And I mean, I'm just being honest. So I was just
Isn't
like,
it funny how how that happens? You
yeah,
know what I'm saying? It just happens. It just comes at us. Keep going, keep going. I
yeah, for
find
sure,
that
bro.
funny.
And it happens to everybody. It doesn't matter what you look like, what you smell like. If from the north, south, east, west of the world, it's an autocorrect. It's the law, and that's just what it is. So that was a mistake, and then also forgetting the fact that the reason why I got into business, it wasn't just for money. I mean, money was helpful, but the main reason was the freedom that money gave me to be able to spend more time with my family, to be able to create more memories with my family and motivate more family members to be like, hey, I did it, born and raised in the same small town as you, cuz, or aunt, uncle, bro, sis,
Right.
niece, nephew, everybody, mom, dad.
Yeah.
And it was like I allowed myself for a minute to just get caught up with the dollar. Like when you start off, you want to hustle, 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 do every job, take every call, post every sign, go to every networking event. So I developed FOMO. I developed fear of missing out, which is a real thing. And
Yep.
it jeopardized the love that I have for my family, because I was like, oh, we family time is now, but there's a networking event going on where I know there's going to be a new wholesaler and meet with a new buyer or market some junk removal. And I'm like, wait a minute, step back. Another mentor of mine, Tim, he's very well off, has a nice sized portfolio in another business, property management company. And I'm like, they only work Monday through Friday and they stay very, very active 9 to 5. I'm sitting here working 6 to 8 p.m. Monday through Saturday, taking calls, brushing my teeth. I'm biting some chicken or something, and then I'm like, oh, mutant. I'm like, what am I doing? I am literally becoming a slave to
Yeah.
everyone's request. So I had to just step back and be like, hey, how do we make this work for what we want and our visions and not anyone else's? Because at the end of the day, you can be busy, right? Everyone's like, I'm so busy,
Yeah.
I'm so busy. Busy is like a chicken with his head cut off. It's not
Right.
going anywhere. It's just moving. So now I say I'm productively active. I'm more intentional on what I want to do. I'm more intentional with my family time, my hours. Like I'll tell someone we're in the middle of a deal. We just locked it up today, but the wholesale is we locked it up for 10. I knocked off 3 to make it work, and it was like 7:30, almost 8 o'clock last night. And the buyer was texting me. He was like, "Hey," I was like, "Hey, bro, I'm watching Millions with my son. Let's follow up in the morning." Like I didn't cut my time for my son. I
Right.
cut him off because it was my family time.
Right. Dude, I think that's really, really, really key because a buddy of mine, Gabe Rodarte, that I have on Real Estate Power Play, we've talked about this where people like the most successful people aren't busy, right? Like you said, they're not busy. What they are is they're very focused on a few core projects, right? They're very focused on their work and they know what they're doing. They're not pulling their hair out. They have people on their team and they hold them accountable. And then if the person does not meet that accountability, they move things around, just like Abraham Lincoln did with Grant, right? They kept moving things around until they find the right guy and they find the right team member. And I think what you said there, I think that, for what I've found is that it's so easy to feel like your opportunity is riding on you being constantly available, right? I think there's this weird perception that I have to be. It's the hey man, call me whenever. Hey, if you ever need anything, just let me know, right? It's kind of like realtors will be like, hey, I'm here for you anytime, and that's
Oh
the
yeah,
value pitch. The value pitch is, hey, have my time, rather than, hey, you know what? I was actually really tired of, a lot of people backing out of the deals. And so I came up with the 3 vision solution. And this is what it is, X, Y, Z. And if I can help you, I would love to. Right.
oh
And
yeah,
now it's very clear.
yeah,
And dude, I absolutely love that because isn't it true? Like it's your son who gets short circuited. It's never the person on the outside. It's always our family that gets short
yeah,
circuited, right? It's always the ones that, oh, they'll forgive me. They'll do this. And then
yeah,
we start putting that on the back burner more and more because, hey, we've got another deal or we've got another dollar, we've got this, rather than saying, you know what, I committed, right? Like I want to be a man who holds to my commitments. I'm not saying I'm going to be here 100% of the time, but if I say I'm going to be here, I'm going to be here, right? That
right.
I come through for those that I love and I come through for those that I give my word to. I think that's so powerful. And you don't have to be infinitely available. And guys out there, like you don't have to be infinitely available. Like I think that is such a big mistake. Instead, what value do you bring and offer that value, right? Because
Yeah,
that's what the marketplace really needs is people who are contributing and bringing value by solving problems, by offering solutions, by providing alternatives. I think that's super valuable, man. So, one, I appreciate you being just really transparent with that because I think that's a real thing, man. On the flip side, so that's something really, really, really kind of negative that happened. You started getting some money. You started kind of, going down that trajectory. On the flip side, what's something like you've done that you're like, man, this was freaking amazing. Like I did this and it opened up this amount of opportunity, or what was a decision you made along the way that really changed the game for you?
there's a couple. One of them being actually listening and partnering up with um, my mom and my wife Brittany. So the 3 visions, the pitch that you guys get is like, yeah, it's 3 visions, right? But 3 visions originally started from the 3 of us and listening to them and listening to each other. Another good thing would I would say would be just evaluating something before I actually did it. and just making sure that it made sense. So I did. Yeah, yeah, I was gonna say, yep. So I did a deal back in 2018 that pushed over to 2019, and we thought we were gonna keep it as a rental. So we did the updates to keep it as a rental. Then we changed our mind in the middle of the project to turn it into a flip. Then we tore out the kitchen, the floor, the subfloor, put new cabinets in, new bathrooms, finished a half bath upstairs. By the end of the time, it was just like, dude, this is taking so long. And from flips, you got to be in and out. At first, we were just like, okay, this is a rental. It's right by Grand Valley. We'll make it work. And
Yeah.
yeah, so we didn't stick to our plan
Yep.
from start to finish. Now it's having a better plan and vision, like even before you even close on the property, like what's going to happen with this, and not allowing I want to be this quarter, what I want to focus on. So those are the things that I do that are helpful for me. But I highly encourage everyone to just explore, trial and error. If you think of yourself as a scientist, the less experiments that you do, the less successful that you are, because scientists are supposed to have experiments. Every day we're supposed to experiment as scientists. If you're not experimenting, if you're not doing trial and error, you're not failing, you're not getting closer to your success because you haven't tried what failed sooner to get to what's going to succeed sooner.
Dude, that's so good. And I think there's an understated value of just sitting down and talking with somebody about what you're looking to do. Hey, I'm looking to buy this house. Do you mind meeting me over there and we can walk through it together? Right? Especially if you're new, right? It's if it's got, hey, can you walk in the basement and figure out how are we going to start and get this
Yeah.
foundationally solid? Or hey, what about blank? You know what I'm saying? And getting that advice from the mentor, or sitting with another mentor and being like, hey, I'm thinking I want to buy 15 rentals this year. Like, is that a good plan? Or what would your scenario be to narrow that out? And you're getting, because the way I look at that and is you're sitting back and you're asking them to shorten the time frame, right? It took them so many years to figure something out, right? And if you can just bypass those mistakes and just do it the first time, then you're able to succeed right away. And in return, if they need something, or you're there to provide them value. And a lot of times what I've found, with guys I've connected with, is they just want to connect, and they want to pour into the people who are going to receive it. Right? They don't want to pour into people for no reason. They want to pour into the people who are going to take it and be loyal to them, and who are going to put it into action. One of the things that I recommend, Joe, to a lot of people, which it sounds like you're doing, is when you talk to someone you think is going to be a mentor, ask them what they would do or how they would do something, then go out and do it, get a result, and then go back to them and say, hey, I did this that you recommended. Here's what happened. What would you do now? Right? Like, what would you recommend now? And I think that is, I think that's powerful. Super, super awesome, man. So let's do this. We're running at the end of our time. At the end of the calls, what I like to do is just kind of do a speed round. It's kind of like the value round, right? Just boom, 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 boom. Speed questions, what you think off the top of your head. If there was one metric in Joe Howard III's business to track, and that was all you could choose, what would it be?
The amount of times that it takes negotiating from like acquisition to closing, to see how I can maximize more on that time frame.
Gotcha. What books would you recommend someone new to real estate investment?
Well, the go-to that I got first that I really love was Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. That was
Yep.
literally like, that was a game changer. That's really highly recommended. One that's not really as promoted, but just as powerful to me is Who Moved My Cheese. by Spencer
Yeah,
Johnson.
that's a good one.
Uh, yeah,
Yeah.
I mean that's short and sweet, especially for like brand new beginners. Dude, who moved my cheese, man? That was really really monumental. And my third one, even though you said one, I just got to do the three.
No, you're good,
Was Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. That was
bro.
another good one, and that was
Yep.
mentality. So those top three: Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Who Moved My Cheese, and Think and Grow Rich will be my top three.
Nice. Have you read Napoleon Hill's Law of Success?
No, I need to read that.
Yeah, so for the audience too, but that is his actual masterwork. Um, is the Law of Success. The Think and Grow Rich was a what are they? It was like a spin-off course to his
Mm,
Laws of Success. So
okay.
the Think and Grow Rich is actually just a portion of his laws.
Wow.
Really good stuff, man. Yeah, really good. It's actually right here. It's one of my forefront ones. The Laws of Success. So it's one of my top life changing books.
Nice.
Awesome. Um, what do you do to intentionally network or mastermind with other business owners?
Um, I'm 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 sincere. I'm real, and I'm nosy to a point of how I can add value to them. So, think about it like, for example, I mean, because it's all relationships, right? And
Yep.
so when our significant others are saying like, "Oh, babe, those earrings are cute," and I'm like, "Oh, they are cute," and then like you give her a present a week later, or for her birthday or for Christmas, it's like, "Oh, you really got those." Well, if I'm at a networking event and you're like, "Man, I really need a roofer, man, because my roofer is like 2 weeks behind," I'm like, "Oh, okay." I was like, all right, Ronald, man, have a good one. And then I just send you like five referrals to a roofer and with no expectation of return. Like that's the value add that I want to do because I know from one of the laws that we just talked about, which would probably be the law of attraction or law of exchange, actually.
Yep. Yep.
It's gonna come back, and good karma is real, just like bad karma. So I just want to be that guy to be able to just plug in with people and help them out as much as possible.
Dude, that's awesome. How much do you spend on your personal development each year?
I would say about 2 to 5 grand a year, which is kind of cheap. I would say some like if it's 2 grand during COVID, it was like because we shot out to go do a very small COVID approved networking meetup, or the five would be of us like doing some upgrading on branding or some more marketing, but the
Nice.
marketing being ourselves and understanding how personal development works and going out to different seminars. The one that we went to this year that was totally worth it was like just shy of 2 grand. Went out to Vegas for the Clever Summit back in April,
Yep.
and that
Yep.
was a game changer for me. Like it just made me up my level a little bit more from where I was because the number one thing they talked about was community. And I'm like, man, I'm already trying to be this grand facilitator, but how do I actually focus on the community? And I was like, well, the people I already know, just re-tap in with them to say, hey, how can I help? How can I help? How can I help?
Right. Dude, I that's awesome. That's awesome. So, lastly, thank you for that. I think that's amazing because a lot of people don't spend 2 or 5 grand into themselves, right? And those small things, man, they sharpen us in a time where we need to be sharper. You know what I'm saying? We want to elevate and grow ourselves, and I really like
Yeah,
that.
and
So,
even if it's a couple $100, guys, with just starting off with the books that Ronald has in behind him, or just some books that you've heard, or audio book. It doesn't need to be a
yeah,
grand amount of money that you spend, but personal development is 100% real. It's so
I
real.
love. Yeah, there's a guy that I like to follow that I listen to. He says, "You want to outwork, out improve, out strategize, and outlast the people around you." And
Mm,
and part of that's that out improve, right? Like when you read a book you've never read before, like a how to book or a business book, or even a biography, your mind is being opened, right? Like
yeah.
you're being open to possibilities, and that's why I like reading so much. Is it's almost addicting being like opened up, like, oh man, I didn't realize that like Andy Grove manages this way. I could take that principle and I could do that to help motivate my team. Or, you know, like, oh, Lincoln, when he was dealing with pushback and when he was leading, this is what he did. Like, he just hung out in the field and this is how he dealt with conflict. And like that stuff is, I love that. I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
So,
I even do a couple investor men's meetups where it's just men, and we literally like get together, kind of vent and just share successes, but also struggles. You know, of like, but that's very helpful as well because, you know, you're someone who's taking down 100 apartment units. You're thinking like, oh, they're living the best life, and then they come into our group, which is safe, secure, confident, and confidential. And he's like, man, I'm struggling with X, Y.
yeah.
And they're like, hey, bro, we're here for you, man. It'll get better. And like that right there, I also feel like it's a sense of therapy, yes. And I think we all need more therapy in our lives. But it's also a sense of that external development for your personal, because we have so many thoughts going on in our head. Like, is this going to close, or is this done? Or I watched your live when you were talking about the basement and finishing up some siding on a project. And it's like, who do you vent to about that? You know?
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, and being able to walk through that stuff it really is important because sometimes when you're in your head, you just feel like you're going crazy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you're like, man,
Yeah.
am I like cool. So how can people connect with you? Right? This has been awesome. If they want to reach out to you and connect with you, what's the best way to do that?
Facebook, Joe Howard, Joseph Howard third on Facebook. I'm on Instagram as well. You guys can email me, joe@chunknights.com with two Ks because we slay. Or email joe at 3visionsmi.com. All the other social media I'm not too big on yet. Maybe my daughter, she'll be 15 in 6 days. Maybe she'll start the TikTok and all the other stuff for us. So
Yeah, she'll get you up and running. That's awesome. All right, Joe.
yeah,
Hey, man, it's been an absolute pleasure getting to know you and talking with you just about it, about real estate and about your journey. And I just want to thank you, man, for coming out and being on the Forge to Win podcast.
oh for sure. Thank you for having me, Ronald. Thank you guys for listening. Hopefully, I added some value to whoever tuned in. And yeah, have a great day. Make it productive. Oh, last thing, guys, just another mentor said it. The goal is just to get 1% better a day. So don't worry about conquering the world or apartment complexes or flips right off the bat. Just get 1% better with studying, 1% better with networking, 1% better with follow up, and everything will just fall into place.